Basically, every single thing on all of planet Earth gets under the skin of a leftist. I mean, anything and everything said by a person that hasn't already been identified as one of them or safe or however they identify each other, I really have no idea. But everything bothers them, right? But if you're a leftist propagandist, nothing bothers you more than people not falling for your garbage or people daring to believe something other than what you've been feeding to them. And Joe Scarborough, he is absolutely losing his mind with the New York Times.
People calling and going, oh, this is just a reaction to one poll. No, you can go back. You can look at the tape. We do this every time the New York Times Siena poll comes out. It's always an outlier. And the New York Times always gets 15 or 16 articles out of them that everybody rushes to because it says Earth ends at 5 o'clock. Go hit link at New York Times 15 times. And they keep writing articles about it. There are, and NPR has found some of these voters that said, well, I voted for Biden before, and they said, but wait, this guy, we checked the voting rolls, he's never voted. Other news organizations have like 3, 4 more examples, not just of people in the surveys, but people the New York Times quoted in their articles of, well, here's one of many people that we interviewed that said he's disillusioned and is going to vote for Trump. No record of him voting.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you
there's
feeling something?
Well, I'm feeling that there's I think sometimes, as a general matter, there's maybe a little bit of an over-reliance on voters telling the truth about things in general. Hate to say it. Reporters find this occasionally that reporters lie.
I mean, just replay in your mind what you just heard that man say. An MSNBC propagandist just essentially said, don't believe the polls because voters lie. Believe me because I, on MSNBC, am the arbiter of truth. I mean, that's basically what the guy said. And I have absolutely no doubt that he believes it. He probably also believes that the border really isn't any big deal. Probably also believes that no one is actually struggling to put any food on their table. And he probably actually believes that Donald Trump was guilty of election interference when he allegedly entered into a completely legal non-disclosure agreement with a porn star that was extorting him. These are not serious people.
Here's what I'd say about this poll. If I were to ask you this question, Joe, do you know anybody on either side who doesn't think that it's the case that of the battleground states that Joe Biden is stronger in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin than he is in Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia?
It sounds about right. I've seen some polls that show that Georgia is very close. Greg Bluestein actually had an article that also says the Siena poll is wildly off.
I'm not saying it's not close. I'm not going to carry water for the New York Times or for the methodology of this poll. I'll keep going back to a thing that I try to say every time we talk about these things, which is that I'm really interested, and I know you know this, is like, what are the polls telling us directionally about the race?
I understand. There's a difference, though, with the New York Times Siena poll, and you know this. It's given disproportionate impact. This year, this cycle, it is skewed wildly in Donald Trump's direction. Hold on. Yeah. And the New York Times feasts on it with clickbait stories like a dozen at a time.
And what I'm trying to focus on is what I think people should pay attention to.
But what I'm trying to focus on is the New York Times right now is actively shaping the election cycles, where this poll comes out on a Sunday and on Monday people go, oh, and I heard it. And I'm sitting there going, oh, don't be so stupid.
I mean, again, listen close and replay what these insane people are trying to convince themselves of. The New York Times is actively shaping the election cycle to favor Donald Trump. The New York Times is trying to manipulate the public to vote for Donald Trump. That's what they say on MSNBC. Obviously, that is insane. No one serious has ever thought that, and no one serious would ever believe it. But just think about this, man. The same people who tell their victims every 5 minutes that Donald Trump promises a bloodbath, that he's going to be a dictator, that he's going to end democracy, thinks racists are very fine people, and all the nonsense they say daily, 24/7, right? Those same people think that the polling done by the New York Times is manipulating people. I mean, how remarkable is that?
That's why we're doing this. So we're not. No,
what's
hold
your
on
theory?
a second.
What's your
Hold on.
theory about why?
No, hold on. What I hear is after these Siena polls come out, every time New York Times poll is, oh well, everything that Joe Biden's done since the State of the Union address, all this money that he's put out, all of the campaigning is for naught. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's one poll that's wildly skewed every time.
Okay.
And it does shape, if it's a New York Times poll versus a Morning Consult poll, and the New York Times then amplifies it 15, 16, 17 times, it warps reality, and everybody responds to that in the media and in the